coming to you from the corner of Port Wanderer, Clumbaroo Road and Surveyors Pool. Surveyors Pool about, I don't know, 12 or 14 k's down that way. Mitchell Falls probably about close to 30 that way, and Ocean that way. While we're here, well, these rear axle bearings have decided they don't want to play anymore. So we're just crawling along. We did about 10 k's an hour up from Surveyors Pool. I'm just waiting for them to cool down. Got the air down. Air out to try and cool them down a bit more. There's another 79 behind us. We're waiting for it to come through, and hopefully we'll get the boss on that truck and she can shoot through to Mitchell Falls and see if she can have a chat to the Rangers or to Heliflight. See what she can do about organising some replacement bearings and seals and stuff for this. And I'll just meander on back, hopefully. Long, slow trip ahead of me. Well, just cruising along at 7.9, 7.8 kilometres. Second gear idle. Got 36 kilometres to go. Something like that. Boss has managed to lift with that other 79 series. They didn't have spare axle bearings. Bugger. Every now and again I can hear a nice little squeal coming from that back. I've done just over 2 kilometres from that corner. I'm going to stop after 10 and just have a feel of that hub and make sure it's not too hot. If it's hot, then I'll have to wait and let it cool down a bit more. 5 o'clock, I've been going for a little bit over an hour now. Still averaging 7.6, 7.8 sort of miles an hour. My odometer tells me I've done 10 k's. I know the odometer's wrong, so I've probably actually done more than that. Just going to pull over just a little bit further down the road here and check the rear hub and see how hot it is, and if it needs to cool down, I'll let it cool down. If it's not too drastically hot, I might just keep on pushing through. Well, without a doubt, yeah, the hub is hot. I wet my finger, put my finger on the hub, and the spit dries up pretty fast. It's not as hot as it was at my last stop, and I put that down to doing about 20 k's an hour up some four-wheel drive tracks and four-wheel drive, and maybe a little bit slower as well in some places, and maybe the tyre being hot and being under load, whereas at the moment we're just cruising along on idle. Anyhow, the gist of it is I'm just going to push on through. I haven't heard any terrible sounds come out of the back for a while now. There was a bit of a squealing sound, but I think that may have been a disc backing plate. I'm hoping it was anyhow. There's no rumbling sounds, no drastic bearing squealing sounds like they're going to collapse. So I'm still 16 kilometres from the turn off to the campground, and I'm up here. I've got to come down here, so I reckon I've probably got another 8 kilometres to get to that turn off. So I've just started a recording route on Hammer Maps. See up here, it's a little bit blue. It tells me how far I've travelled too, so that's good. The other thing I haven't told you about is my ABS light came on, and I think that's because well, I've pulled over. They're as hot as hell again, so you have to wait here about an hour, I reckon, to let them cool down, blow some air on them and stuff and see what happens. Well, the boss picked up a Ranger. He's almost 70 years old. His name's Gav. Some common history there. He used to work down at Ulladulla, and my olds were from Ulladulla. Anyhow, he's taking the boss back to camp with the fridges, and we're going to park the Landcruiser up at the airstrip tonight. And we're going to do that because the part's going to be in here at 7:30 tomorrow morning. Absolutely amazing. So the boss will have to try and organise something with Heliflight to rearrange that for Sunday. It pushes things back a little bit. We'll get a little wiggle room in here because well, tomorrow's Saturday. Sunday, yeah, Monday I think we're pushing out to Honeymoon Bay. Now the guys are off now. Thumbs up to the rangers out here at Mitchell Falls. True says been absolutely fantastic. Gav's given me 50 minutes to get up to the airport. It's about 6 kilometres away. If I can cool these bearings down. Probably not too worried about them too much as long as they don't seize now. But I want to cool them off. Back on the road. Hammer says I've done 4.65 from when I started tracking. My odometer says from that Port Wanderer turn-off I've done 15 kilometres. This is a 20 kilometre track out towards the turn-off for Mitchell Falls, so interesting to see how we go. The squealing sound's gone now. Got that hub nice and cool. Yeah, it didn't spare the water this time after I ran some air through it. So things are looking pretty rosy if I can get to that airport. Well, this is where I'm supposed to be meeting Gav, I think. A little dirt road off to the left near the airstrip. Airstrip there. So now I'm going to pull up here and wait. Lights on, you can see me. Good morning, punters. Well, last night I got into here, we're at the airport, probably just after 7. Ranger Gazz gave me a lift back down to the campsite. He's just dropped me off back here. Parts from Kununurra have arrived from the Kununurra 4x4 store. It's about $300 worth of kit there, bearings, diff oil and stuff. Plan of attack this morning is to get into this side. That's buggered. And replace those bearings. If I get that done, then I'll have a look at the diff oil and hopefully get that knocked over by midday. It's probably about 8 o'clock now, and hopefully I'll get down to the campsite and do the passenger side down there. You can see I've got the wheel off. The first thing I wanted to do is make sure I could get this axle out. So I did the nuts off. I happen to have some gash bolts that I could use to screw in and push the axle out a little bit, but sometimes it doesn't. These little collets here are tapered and split, so they crush up and lock your axle in. Hammer, bash it. When I used to work on trucks, they had larger versions of these, and we used to just get a small sledgy and smash the shit out of the centre of the axle to pop the collets. Anyhow, so from here I've got to remove the rest of the collets. Sometimes, like when they're loose like this, sticking a screwdriver in the split in them spreads them and you can get them out. I wanted to take the outside lock nut and stuff off before I went any further, like taking the caliper off, make sure I get it. A few little bits floating around, lots of metal in the grease, it smells very burnt. So I've got the lock nut off there. I'll take the caliper, move it around to the back, and then I should be able to just pull, well, I might have to back off the handbrake, pull off the drum and disc, and then I should be able to pull the inside rotor off and go from there. Rotor was playing a little bit of hardball, so there's two same bolts that I used to pull out the axle. I've just stuck into the drum on either side, just doing them up. See, the rotor's come off now, so happy with that. I've got a suspicion that the inside seal's gone. There it is there. Alright, hopefully I should be able to get this out. Hopefully. Nothing's ever easy. I've come to a little bit of impasse here. That bearing has collapsed. the outside one. Got little bits of bearing fragment there, and the races have seized. I can't get this hub off. Try bashing it with a hammer. Ideally a pulley would be the best thing to do, so I've got to try and work out some sort of improvisation if I can. Oh, bugging me dead. I tried various permutations to trying to get this hub off. I resorted to the high lift jack. High lift jack multi-purpose. Got it off. Yeehaw! Now the next hard part is getting the seized bearings off and races. That's going to be probably a hammer and chisel job, and hopefully I won't do any damage to that diff stub. You see, I brought a bucket with me. I've got some unleaded, so I'm going to wash the parts in the unleaded. I want to wash the parts so I've got to reuse again, which is the hub, lock ring, adjusting ring, locking screw, and I'll probably clean up the inside of the drum and the brakes and stuff as well. I've got some engine degreaser as well, but I'll use the engine degreaser on that part. I want to see what I'm dealing with before I smash it with a hammer and chisel. After I've been washing the parts in the petrol, I've given them a wash in water, blown them out with the compressed air over there, and given them a wipe out. This locking nut's going to need replacing. One of the locking screws, this one here, is broken. I've got one other. I might have to see if I've got a gash screw in my kit. I'll have to get that out first. It's inevitable. Nothing on this job's going to be easy. That little grub screw, couldn't screw it back out the way it came, so vice grips coming back out the back end. Slow job. That's the lock nut cleaned up. Something I noticed when I was cleaning it up, all the outside of it was burred up, so I've gone around it with a file and cleaned it up as best I can. Still a few little rough spots. And imagine on the inside of the hub here, there's going to be some wear marks there too. I don't have any sandpaper here, they're back at the camper, so it's going to have to see how bad they are. As I suspected, the hub's been chewed out a little bit. You might be able to see that really shiny part in there. A couple of little burrs, I've knocked them off. I've given this a clean about 4 or 5 times. Where the race sits though is all nice, both on the outside and the inside. So now I've got to clean up that stub, see what I'm dealing with, and see if I can get those bearings off. It's not pretty. That's the inside race. It obviously went through the hub. I was smashing up against the stub here. It's got lots of pitting around it. It's probably almost the thickest part of the stub there, almost. I have to get the file on that and clean it down. It's not something I want to leave there forever, but we can live with it for the time being. Let's see how we go. As I mentioned, chisel. If I get a chisel and just punch it across there in 2 or 3 places, that actually spreads the race, and I should be able to get it off. There's a little bit of metal burred in there as well, so I might need to clean that up. I'll need to destroy that race, or that bearing, and then do the same with the race on the outside. One of those days it reminds me why I gave up swinging spanners. Anything and everything that could possibly make it harder has occurred. Yeah, I've taken the backing plate off just so I could get that inner bearing race off. I destroyed it. That's it there. But the outer one, look at that, eh? It's smashed up. Anyhow, I've done a little bit of filing around here. I have to do some there. I'm going to give it a good clean first, and then I'll do some more filing, and then clean it up as best I can. Try and clean up inside the stub there as best I can, and start reassembling. Cleaned up. I had to clean up some of the thread on the stub as well. Needle files, that's what they're good for. It's about as good as I'm going to get it. I've made sure the locking nut goes on all the way now. That's why I knew I needed to clean up the thread. I'm just going to check the bearings to make sure they're going to sit on that stub without getting jammed up. Oh, punters, I've got stuff from Arthur to Martha here, but anyhow, I've got the hub back on, I've got the rotor back on, I've got the backing plate back on, caliper back on, greased up all the bearings, put the seals in, plenty of grease in there. I've done up the adjusting nut tight. I don't want to adjust it until I put the wheel back on. so I can get some feeling of how the hub's sitting. Then I'll back it off and try and lock it up with that one screw that I've got left. Couldn't find another one. Then I'll put a little bit of elastic around the axle and stuff. Bam that back in, put the 6 bolts or nuts, locking cones and spring washers back on. Job done. Go back to camp and do the other side. Hopefully a lot easier than this side. Boss made it. Gaz brought her up. There's the hero there. Axle's in. Neither Gaz or I could get it in. We won't tell you who got it in, but it's in.